I work very slowly in the conceptual stages of the painting, figuring out what the painting wants me to do. And that's a kind of meditational process that takes a long time. The big inspiration for my work came from John Cage. He said, everything is art. Different than Duchamp, who said anything can be art, although they were friends. Cage said everything is art. That was liberating. He was using chance, but he was choreographing the chance.
Right.
And I thought, well, why do I need to choreograph chance? Just let it happen.
There's control that whose purpose is to clear the way so that the energy can circulate. And there's control that's more, gripping and that want to maintain order.
At first, I had control. And then I started with these port paintings, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I had very little control, and they were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
As I did them more and more, I learned more and more control. I learned how to control what I didn't know how to control.
Mm.
It's always that the mistake makes the painting, the part where I'm completely blank. I had a beautiful painting I did in Vermont. I had a helper, a girl helping me, who made a terrible mistake measuring my painting. And she measured it wrong, so the two halves were different. They weren't halves anymore. And so I tried to match the color to make them two halves, and it wasn't the same. It was a different color. And that painting hung for 8 months in the hallway of the MoMA. And everybody said it was beautiful. And it happened because of the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That something came through, and even though I don't control it and I try to disappear, and it's not me, something human we know came through in the mistake, in the failure.
It's like there are forces, there are active and reactive forces in every situation.
Yeah.
And you have to acknowledge, to evaluate things, to recognize where it is active and where it is reactive, because it keeps changing.
Each step tells me the next one to take, but I don't try to control it or make it happen. The painting says, this painting is finished. That's how I know.
It seems that your whole career, you made an effort to disappear.
Yes.
And I wondered if you are successful.
Well, not completely, but to some degree, yes. I'm not in the paintings in the way that people put themselves in paintings. That is, the abstract painters, abstract expressionist. I think if you have to express yourself, you should see a therapist. The waterfall paintings are like an answer to abstract expressionism.
Mm-hmm.
It was to take the drippy brushstroke, sort of the icon of abstract painting, the dripping brushstroke, and turn it into an image.
So that's what I was asking you at the beginning. An effort to disappear that you had from the beginning. And it took all these years to disappear in a kind of positive way.
I start all the paintings with a green underpainting and then put whatever colors I've chosen on top of it. I don't mix colors. The colors mix in optically through transparency and surface tension, so that the top layer cracks and then the layer on top of that cracks, and they expose the color under. So although it looks like an opaque flat red or an opaque flat yellow, when you get close you can see the other undercolors coming through.
In 1966, Michel Foucault wrote a book, 2 books actually, called The Archaeology of Knowledge.
Yes.
Right? And The Order of Things.
Yes.
Because it seemed to me that you were doing exactly, or he was doing exactly what you were doing. Trying to define that history is made in such a way that it's like a kaleidoscope.
Yes.
You shake a kaleidoscope and you have like a a set of proposition or discourses or network that relate things that are very much for that time.
Yes.
And any style would express the time, not really the painter or the artist.
That's what I think,
Yeah.
exactly.
History is like a cubist painting, among other things. It was made of break, like a kaleidoscope. You shake it up, and you don't exactly know what's going to happen, but then another set of rules that allows to understand things arrive.
Yes.
Right? So it seemed to me like you were basically, on one hand in philosophy or in history, on the other in art, after something very similar.
People are artists for different reasons nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an artist to take risks. I thought, well, I'm not an athlete. I'm not built like an athlete. I can't take that risk. I can't take a physical risk. But this I can do. This I can take a risk at. So I try out the density of the paint, the texture and color on the wall. And you can see that the color changes as the weight of the paint pulls itself down. From there, I either put more pigment in or thin out the paint or change the color altogether. So that's how I see the color. I was looking for Agnes Martin. I was in a car with Douglas Crimp. Do you know Douglas?
Yes.
He did a show of Agnes's work in the early 1971. She invited him to come and visit her, and he invited me to join him because he knew I loved her work. She lived on a mesa in an adobe house she built herself by hand, by her own hands. I thought she was old, but she was younger than we are now by far. And we got lost. We couldn't find her. And that painting, Looking for the Mountain, is a map of looking for Agnes.
I see.
And finally she got disgusted waiting for us, so she came down in her pickup truck. She looked great. She had on like work clothes, you know, heavy linen work clothes. And she's driving her pickup truck, and she came down. And because she didn't mingle with people, so nobody told us how, but she was very complicated getting up the side of the mesa, and there were no signs. I mean, the signs were, so we got caught in a river, we got stuck in a river, everything happened to us. But she found us, and we met her, and so looking for the mountain, she lived on the mesa. That's what it was. Agnes and I stayed up in her adobe house and talked all night. Finally, I was going to go to sleep, and I took my notebook, and Agnes said, "Can I see your drawings?" And I said, "No." To a hermit who never asked for anything, I said no. So in the morning, Douglas woke up and came up, and she made us eggs for breakfast, and then she said, "I guess you're leaving now," because she was mad at me. And
Because you didn't show the drawings.
everybody was afraid because she was like a hermit. If she would be shell-shocked to be among people, she wasn't. Anyway, I comforted her, and she said, "Oh, you're just like a bad penny, you keep turning up." She liked me. And when I got home, there was a long letter from her, and it said, "When you make a painting you don't like, throw it away the way you would a bad relationship." Both those were strange ideas for me. But then I visit her every summer for the next 30 years. I visited Agnes.
You did?
In August. And because she didn't want to be crowded emotionally by people, I'd go all the way to New Mexico, call her from Santa Fe, and say, "Hi, Agnes, I'm in town. Can I come and visit you?" And she would always say yes, and I would have to sleep on the balcony of the hotel or in the courtyard because the rooms were so dusty. So toward the end, Agnes said, "I guess you'll have to stay here." She put her hand on her hip. And so we became friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I never changed my way of arriving. I never said, "I'm going to come to New Mexico." I could say, "I'm here."
You never gave her a choice.
Well, she had the choice. She could say no. We had a long friendship.